Hey everybody, Jeremy from Follow Me Leadership, and in this discussion I want to talk about the increasing demands on our people and this concept of do more with less. It's something that I felt we did a lot of in the Army, and I think the corporate world gets it wrong as well. I don't think we always got that right in the military, but I will say this, at least in the military world, when you expect your people to do more with less, it's kind of goes towards a training objective that in a wartime scenario, you're going to be expected to complete missions, carry out operations without the exact or perfect amount of personnel, without the right weapons, without enough ammunition, without the right clothing. You can watch any war movie, any series like Band of Brothers certainly showcased that a lot. Where everybody was expected to complete a mission that was necessary for the interests of winning the war, but they just didn't have the right equipment or the right this or that. It just is what it is, and you have to do it. In the corporate world, I think it takes it to another extreme because we're not at war in the corporate world, and I think all too often it's a very one-sided scenario, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed at every company, and I think it's something we can fix with some simple concepts. So the first problem when it comes to this overall issue, I think it's when management increases expectations on subordinates, but not the resources. And I've always said if you expect more from your employees, they're going to expect more from you. I saw this a lot in the corporate world where, let's say, quotas, sales quotas increased or production quotas increased. And you're being expected to do more with less, to produce more, to get more sales, to make more calls. But at the same time, the company isn't willing to increase their level of compensation. I think in a way that really hurts morale. And I think as the manager or as the corporation management team, if you expect your people to do more, then you should be willing to put your money where your mouth is and offer more. All too often the solution was, yeah, if you increase your sales, you have the potential of making more. Well, you're asking me to work harder, work longer hours, do more with less, but yet I potentially could see no extra compensation from that unless I'm successful in doing all of those things. I'm still working harder now. I'm still working longer hours. I'm still trying to help produce more on the line. But if we don't meet all these new goals, I don't see any addition in compensation. Well, that's not really fair. I think a simple way to solve that is, hey, if you expect your people to do more, then give a bump right off the bat, whether that's a simple bump in pay or an extra day off or whatever it is. You're asking them to put more skin in the game, then you put a little more skin in the game. It's as simple as that. Second area where I think we see problems is relates to like budgeting. So when a company starts to make cuts in their budget, yet their expectations for output, whether it's in production or sales or whatever, grow, you have to find a way to encourage cost savings without punishing the team, let's say, for their next budget. I saw this a lot in the Army that if you, let's say, went to the weapons range to qualify on an M16 rifle range and you asked for 5,000 rounds of ammo, let's say, and at the end of that day you came back with 2,000 rounds left over that you didn't fire, the next time you go to the range, they're not going to give you 5,000 rounds. They're going to say, well, no, the last two times you went there, you only used up X amount. Well, you shouldn't be punished because you actually were able to achieve a goal without having to burn through all of your supply, let's say. And this applies to the corporate world as well. As we start to make cuts in, if you're going to expect your people to, be doing more on email or engaging with customers online, entering information into their CRM tool, yet the first thing you do at the beginning of the year is cut their compensation for their wireless, internet at home. You're expecting them to do all these extra things after hours, yet you're not willing to help compensate them for that time that they're putting in. We saw this all the time. Companies cut internet reimbursements all the time because they figure, well, everybody has smartphones, everybody's using the internet for everything these days, and it's not just work purposes. Well, if the level of work that they're doing and you expect them to work also beyond just 9 to 5, it's a simple expenditure, and I think it's a legitimate thing to offer. The third area where I see problems is this concept of getting lean and doing more with less. I think it's important for every manager, especially at higher levels, to understand that, sometimes just cutting expenses, cutting personnel to impact the bottom line will not increase the top line revenue. And for those of you that maybe don't know that terminology, so your bottom line revenue is all of your net sales and revenue you've generated, minus all the expenses from payroll to supplies to whatever that you incurred throughout the year. Your top of the line revenue is just basically what you brought in before you add in all your production costs, your expenses, and whatnot. So when you start cutting personnel, when you cut things you're going to reimburse your employees for, if you're going to cut things tools that they're able to use, machines or whatever, that's not going to do anything to help your top of the line sales. I rarely have seen an example where it does. Maybe there exists a few, I don't know. I'm sure somebody will send me a message and prove me wrong. But if there are out there, they are few and far between. So I think a simple solution is, think about, how do I increase my top line revenue while increasing my bottom line revenue? You can get lean. Just don't fire 1,000 people from your company and think that, hey, look, I just increased our revenue. You didn't. All right. You just made it harder for the other 1,000 people that are working there to do their jobs. So, everything is impacted on many levels, and, getting lean doesn't always mean increasing revenue. So I hope that helps. Again, it's the concept of doing more with less exists both in the military and in the civilian world, and especially as the economy starts to dip a little bit, depending on the industry you're in, we see these types of cuts, whether simple expenditures, maybe it's less traveling, less, reimbursements for something, maybe it's no more entertainment, maybe whatever it is, doesn't matter. We see this all the time. It goes for every industry. It goes through in the military. Just keep in mind that the more you cut on those things, how that really truly impacts, your people on the ground, the people that are actually out there generating revenue for you. Okay. If you have any questions on that, please hit me up, email me at the email address below, shoot me a DM on Instagram or something. I'm here to help and offer any advice that I can. Thanks, everybody.